Hello. All right, I made it. I, you know, I said I was going to do noon and just some big stuff came up for me to clear this morning, which is just, oh my God, it's so good. And that's just why I'm like so in love with the work that I do. It's just so powerful. Every time I have, a new container, a new idea, like, right? Like, I, of course, get to create the space to be the person holding this, right? And I said, like, I'm gonna teach on money. Like, I'm ready to teach on money. I've taught on money before, but never just like purely money. Like, it's always been a part of, whatever it is that I'm doing. But this is just going to be on money. And so, and like clockwork, all of the downloads start streaming through. So I got some like really, really amazing ones that came in this morning, and so much has been coming with the rain, right? Like making it rain, making it rain. I've been making it rain, and so hence it came through in the rain, and then all of this also, especially because it's Mercury retrograde, right? It like brings up all of, and it's in Scorpio, right? So it dredges up the past, like literally people from my past, scenarios from my past, just kind of like filtering through, whether it's coming through in dreams, whether, I'm seeing them, they're reaching out to me, or I'm seeing it, on my feed or whatever. And it's just like, it's all fuel, man. It's like major fuel. So I'm so grateful and just so appreciative. And, so today, what I have for you guys is we're going to be talking about these new downloads that I got around money and relationships and sex and Lilith, of course. Like Lilith, for those of you that don't know. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Stephanie Pierre. I'm a singer, I'm a healer, I'm a mentor, I'm a writer, and yeah, so I just wanted to introduce myself. When you get on, say hello so that I can say hello back to you. And like I said, I'm going to be jamming about Lilith today. Lilith, for those of you that don't know, she is the goddess of rebellion, essentially, of, unleashing your wild self, unleashing your like wild woman self, so like being unapologetic in your desires. She calls in the wealth, the abundance that she requires to self-actualize, to do what she wants to do, to have sex how she wants to have sex, who she wants to have sex with, when she wants to have sex, because that's part of her myth, right? Is she was the first wife of Adam, and in the Garden of Eden, she wanted to get on top, right? And Adam was like, "Oh, you can't be on top. I'm the man. I belong on top." And she was just like, "Well, look, if I can't be on top, then I'm out of here." And so the myth goes that she got banished, like to the desert, where she started like, having sex with demons and making all of these demon babies. And of course, her myth has been demonized, but essentially that's like the very beginnings of where we start seeing the feminine, meaning and everything that's associated with the feminine, which is desire, right? With sensuality, sexuality, wealth, the shadows, all of that being shamed and suppressed is where we start to see it in the myth starting to tell the story. And of course, like there's other myths of Lilith that, she's essentially, a goddess of self-empowerment. So I'm going to jam about that, and you guys aren't going to want to miss this. It is amazing. So, but before I do that, I'm just going to share this live on my page and tell me what you guys are up to. Did you guys feel that major shift yesterday, which was the Mercury opposite Uranus? Hey, how are you? Totally, it either affected you in, one of two ways. Either one, it radically destabilized you because, it's the purpose of Uranus is to shake us. It's to wake us up to the places where we've been stagnant, to where we're sleepy, to where we are not owning up to our highest potential. And so if we are owning up to our highest potential, what happens is it just feels incredibly good. It feels like oxygenating. It feels exciting. It feels exhilarating, right? That's, a good gauge to know of like where you're at in your own personal self-development and self-actualization with your, whenever Uranus comes around and gets triggered, whether it's with the moon or like yesterday it was, Mercury, or, whatever other planet not too long ago. I did I think it was back in May, it was Saturn square Uranus, right? And that brought some like, it's like deep tectonic shifting plates, right, that get woken up. And because it's in Taurus, right, and this is also where Lilith is, that's why I'm jamming all about this now, is, Taurus is it's material girl, right? It's about your money. It's about your self-worth. It's about your relationship to your body, to your sensuality, to wealth consciousness, and our connection to the earth. So, all right, let me share this. You guys are gonna love this. It's so good, and I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Here we are. Hold up. Let me just get back to her in a second and share this to my page. Okay. All right, awesome. That has been shared. So good, so good, so good. All right, let's just check the volume. Can you guys hear me? You probably can. Just, let's see. You guys are gonna love this. It's so good. And okay, awesome. Okay. Hey, Allie. How are you, Chica? All right, so here's the jam, okay? Here's the downloads. First, we're going to talk about time, energy, and money, okay? So, here's the question for you. What do you value more? Your time and energy or your money? And the reason why I am bringing this up is because if we're really honest with ourselves, in this day and age, most people tend not to value something unless they're paying for it. I'm going to repeat that again. Most people in this day and age do not value things unless they have to pay for it. And the reason why is because we have been programmed. And what I mean by this is it's a thought, it is a belief system that has been literally woven into our psyches. It's been woven into our brain that if something doesn't cost money, it's not valuable. So, for example, when people are giving away free things, people, for the most part, will either distrust it, right? Or they'll think it's not really worth anything. So for example, if you're like on the side of the street, right? And let's say that they've done experiments on this. I forget what the name of the show is. My son, I mean, I love watching it too, but my son, it's what's the name of the show? It's called like not what's it called? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the show, but it's like these three guys and they're from like New Jersey and the whole show is basically like them playing pranks on people like all day long. And so anyway, one of the experiments, right, that they did is they put a like a case, like a clear plexiglass like case, right? And they filled it with tons and tons of money, like literally tons of cash, right? And what they did is they started filming and recording people walking by this basically huge case of free cash, right? And you would literally see people walk by it and see their reactions to it, right? Like there would be some people that would take the money, right? And then there would be other people that would look at it and they'd be like, oh my God, like, is this for real? Like, is this really just free money? Right? And there'd be other people that would like take it and then like they'd touch it and they'd be like, oh no, like I can't have that. Like I can't take it. You know, it's like, is this for real? Is this some sort of trick? Is this some sort of game? Right? And so this is what I'm saying is like, it has been programmed in our culture and in our society that unless something costs money, it's not valuable. All right. And so I have seen this like with all of the content that I provide, that is extremely valuable. And if I don't put a price tag on it, right, or it's free, people are much less likely to fully commit and show up for it because unconsciously they associate, well, because it's because it doesn't have a price tag on it, because it doesn't cost something, it's not valuable, right? And so be really honest with yourself and ask that question, because if that is the case, right? So here's the thing, like, and this, we're going to go into this deeper because this applies to trades, right? Like, and this is why a lot of people get into problems with trading, meaning bartering for services. And, trading and bartering, like this is actually how we used to operate, right? Before money was created, right? Where your word was your bond, right? Because our word comes from our solar plexus. It is our power center. The solar plexus is, in Chinese medicine, one of the words, the names that we have for this point is the shimmering granary, right? It's like, it's where we store our wealth, essentially, right? It's like, that's the stomach. It's the digestive system, right? And so I go into this all about your energy, your body, your shape, meaning what you look like, your body's physical shape, your muscles, shape shifting, wealth, your skin, and how all of these are connected to each other, right? In this new program that I'm going to be teaching, all about money. So by the way, if you want to get in, you can get in now for like seriously ridiculously low early bird pricing. Just reach out to me. All right, but coming back to, that's what this part of the body is about, right? Like this is our power center, and essentially the more power that you have, right, the more that you're able to hold wealth, the more that you're able to attract, essentially, right? You're able, like a magnet, to magnetize in what it is that you require, right? And you're getting an energetic exchange, right, for that energy that you're holding. So, coming back to bartering, right? So that's why a lot of people in this day and age, like, a lot of people have gotten away from bartering, right? Because they're that lack of, or not lack, but more that we've kind of gone into this place of only acknowledging that, money is valuable, right? And that our time and our energy is less valuable than money. And so here's a big problem with that. And this is why so many people basically are enslaved to money, meaning they are slaving away their life force, their energy in chasing the dollar. In chasing the dollar, meaning they're working at jobs that they don't really love, that they're not passionate about, because they need to make the money, right? And they're willing to essentially sell their soul, you know, like, and I'm being dramatic about it because at the end of the day, that's what it leads up to over time. You know, it is an abandonment of our soul when we do that. And this is because they have given over their power to money. So because they want that money more than they're actually valuing their own energy and their own time, that they're willing to do things that aren't in an equal value exchange to them for money. Okay? So if you feel that money is more valuable than your time and your energy, what you're doing is you are devaluing yourself, essentially. Your stock value is going down and you are draining yourself of your life force. Okay? So, and this is a program. This is a literal program that is running in the subconscious. And so something that happens with Mercury retrograde is Mercury is the sign in the planet that is all about commerce, meaning the exchange and of goods and services, right? And so what's very common, and you may or may have not noticed this, but during Mercury retrogrades is trading and bartering becomes something that is an option and becomes popularized again, because what we're doing is we're remembering. We're going back down deep into the psyche, into the memory of humanity, essentially, and remembering how we used to exchange services and values and goods, right? It's all within our psyches because, you know, it's what we did, right? And so a lot of people nowadays, though, aren't able to do this because, number one, they're not clear of their value. They're not clear of what their time and their energy is really worth. And so when it comes time to trading with somebody, right, like they don't take it seriously, right? Like it's not as valuable to them, right? And I have been so blessed that, you know, I have been able to trade and barter services with people that, you know, that recognize this, that this is just as valid and just as valuable a form of, of commerce, right? As actually dollars and cents, right? As long as as long as you're in your personal power, right? And you're honoring your word, you're honoring your worth, right? And you're also honoring somebody else's worth. So, so coming back to, here's what's really important about this is a lot of people miss out on so much that is available to us because we equate something free as not being valuable. I have received so much. I have gotten so much from programs and services that were free, quote unquote free, because I showed up and I did the work. Because here's the thing, anytime that we show up and we commit, when we take our time and our energy as being so valuable, because at the end of the day, our time and our energy is more valuable than money. Because you want to know what? Money comes and goes, but you will never get your time back. You can never get your energy back, right? Like meaning that presence that you had in that moment, right? And this is why, why I radically transformed my business and my life is because I didn't want to be like just another, entrepreneur mom that, spent all of her time working, but then didn't have any time for her children, right? Or didn't have any time for herself, right? Or for her man, right? Or for her passion projects. And I'm a person who, I got a lot going on. I'm just going to keep it real with you. Like I'm a mom of 3 children that are just insanely talented. You know, I love spending time with them. I love my man. I love doing things. I'm highly creative. So my time with them is like, when I'm with them, I am with you. I bring my all to you, right? But I'm only able to do that because I know how valuable my time is, right? And so if we're working at jobs, or if we're in, hey Abby, oh hey girl, I'm so glad, you're gonna love this. I'm so glad that you tuned into this. I'm just gonna read what you're saying here, and then I'm gonna circle back. I literally trade with so many local women business owners. Awesome. That's so cool. When I approach them with it, they are like, yes, that sounds amazing. I never thought of that. I feel like it creates a bond. It creates a bond across promotion too. Yeah, because you know what? It's like, what it does is it opens us up to the possibilities of experiencing abundance and experiencing wealth, right? Because there are so many programmed beliefs around money. And this is, I went into this actually in the Mermaid Challenge and giveaway. I spoke about the 3 myths that there is around money, right? Like number 1 being scarcity, that there isn't enough money to go around for everybody, to have plenty. There is this myth going around that, that there isn't enough for everybody, right? That there's only enough for, for lucky people or for really wealthy people. And the more that other people get more money, right? Like that actually takes away from other people, right? And that's just simply not true. That's actually a myth, right? If we look out in nature, and we just look at the abundance of energy, because essentially, again, money is an energy. It's a currency, right? It is the capacity to, and this is kind of like, this is where what I go to in my money course is, money is a means to do what you want to do. It's a tool, right? It's a tool that you get to use as energy, right? So the more money that you have, right, the more ability and the capacity that you get to do what it is that you want to do. That's one way of using it, right? So if we look out in nature and we look at trees, for example, like an apple tree, like it's just, the apple tree is there, right? And it's extending out its branches and it has plenty of fruit, right? Like there is so much fruit, there is so much abundance that so much of the fruit actually will rot. It's like there is so much that even all of the animals aren't able to eat, what that apple will put out, that it will actually just rot. And that rotting goes back into the soil, right, and gets to be used as nutrition for the roots, right, and also for the animals that live in the soil, right? So it's a very balanced and it's in equilibrium. There's a lot of harmony in the fact that there is surplus, right? And so what is really important to understand is that abundance is our nature. Our nature is to be abundant. So this idea of there isn't enough money, I don't have enough money, there isn't enough for everybody, that if I make a lot of money, that I'm taking money away from somebody else, right? The more rich other people get, then that means the poorer other people get. That's simply not true. What it boils down to is that there are blockages within our system, in our wealth economy, okay? Meaning there are blockages, and what these blockages are belief systems and programming, right? And that's what this money course is all about. It's like, imagine the water pathways in your body. There's plenty of water and there's plenty of blood within our body, but if there's blockages, then certain parts of the body aren't going to get that nutrition that they require, It's not that the energy isn't there, that the blood isn't there. It's just that it's blocked, right? And so our work, right, if we're experiencing, and this is what I call money laundering, right? And so this is one of the, the modules within this money course is cleaning up your money shit, cleaning up your wealth stories, getting the kinks out of the hose. You're cleaning your relationship to money laundering. So, so this is one of the myths, right, is scarcity. So, and I go into the other myths, and again, I've also done this I did this in my free mermaid challenge and giveaway. So, all right, so circling back to, if you feel that your money is more valuable than your time and your energy, then, and I say this with, you are basically becoming money's little bitch, right? Like, you're giving your power over and away to money, right? And that's just simply not the case. We are all money. We are more powerful than money, right? Because we're spirit, right? We're we're human beings, right? So this is really, so again, whenever we show up, right? Like, we are committing, we can set an intention for what we want to get out of this experience. Meaning, and this is what I did with my mermaid challenge and giveaways, everybody sets an intention, because whatever you intend to get out of this is what you're going to get out of it. If you don't show up and you don't do the work, then that's on you. It has nothing to do with the fact that you didn't have the money. It was free. And this is why so many people, if you look at just life in general, this is why so many people aren't where they want to be in their life, is because they simply don't do the work. They don't show up, right? Whether it's free or it's not, whether, it costs too much, that's just an excuse. Because if you really and truly want something, when you commit to something and your spirit shows up, that's how you start to open up to magic and miracles, literally. I'm not saying this like pie in the sky, airy fairy. No, magic and miracles are our birthright. Yes, baby, I'm doing a live. I'll be done in like 10 minutes. Being wealthy is our birthright. It's only the programming and the conditioning. For those who don't believe in magic, you'll never find it. If you believe that if you believe making money is hard, then that's what it will be for you. If you feel that your time and your energy is worth less than money, then that's how it's going to be for you. You're going to be working for a living, and at the end of the day, you won't have the money that you desire because you gave over your power to money. You gave over your most precious resource, which is your presence, your time, and your energy. Okay? So, and so here's the other thing is, if you believe that that's true, then this is really important. So pay attention to this, is if you believe that money is more valuable than your time and your energy, then that also can equate to doubting whether making money gets to be easy for you. Whether making lots of money gets to be free to you. It gets to be something that's easy and free. Because if you're equating with, I have to work, I've got to like put in my time and my energy, because, I'm worth less than that money, then that's subconsciously what you create, is this cycle of, it's really hard to make money because money doesn't come free and easy. A lot of people kind of like, you can fuck yourself, right? Literally, you mind fuck yourself into a pattern of not getting any satisfaction, meaning not being able to taste the sweetness of your life, right? And you end up running around like all over the place, not having any stability, not having any security, not having any trust in life, because you've forgotten that connection right? To the truth, essentially. So, all right. So that's the thing on money. Now we're going to talk sex, okay? And this also ties into money too, and the patriarchal programming. So you're going to want to hear this. This is where we get into Lilith, okay? So in culture, for the past 2,000 years, the reason why we take on, when we get married, right, we take on our husband's last name, most people, especially if you're, Anglo-Saxon. This doesn't happen quite as much in Latin American countries or in other countries in the world, but a lot of them do. The reason why we take on our husband's last name is because it's ownership, right? What that is saying is this man owns this woman and owns these and any children that he has with this woman. And so that makes him financially responsible to these children. Okay, so I'm going to say this again. This is really important. So the reason why we take a man's last name is basically for ownership. It's saying that this man financially is responsible for the welfare of the wife and children. This is why this is even in our legal system. This is why, you can get a divorce, and then, a lot of the times, men are required to pay and support, for their children, right? Prior to 2,000 years ago, this was not the case, okay? Prior to 2,000 years ago, and even before that, children belonged to the community. There was no, these children belong to so-and-so, therefore, he's got to pay for them, pay for their rearing, pay for their welfare. Everybody supported the children. It wasn't like children belonged to the community. That's where that expression, it takes a village to raise a child, comes from, right? And so what has happened, right, with this is, of course, this places a lot of stress on women that, let's say they do want to get divorced, right, for whatever reason. And then if they are disconnected from that truth that they are supported and that, children are supported regardless, they feel that it's all on them, right? And it's hard for them to actually receive care for their children, to receive resources for their children, because they have this limited perspective of, well, because I am not being protected by this man anymore, because we don't share the same last name, therefore now I'm in fear, essentially, for my own personal safety and my children's safety. And this is subconscious. And I really want to stress this to you so that you get this. This is subconscious. Whether or not you think about it, because you can think about this, right? And the women that I have worked with, also they get it. Like, that's a thought that actually comes through their mind, right? But it's also very subconscious. So it means it's running in the back of the mind, back here. And it is how they're choosing to live their life and make their decisions based upon that fact that now they're not going to be supported, that they're not financially supported. And this is simply not true. It is a belief system. It is a belief system. And as long as we subscribe to that, what happens is we're not free. We're not free to make our own choices and live our lives how our soul really wants us to live, because we're making choices based upon the fact that we're not supported, right? And I'm not saying that, of course, safety, security, and stability are not important. Absolutely they are. You can't have an open heart without first feeling safe and secure. But if you're outsourcing your safety and security upon a man, right, supporting you or whatever, then that's where we get into problems, okay? So moving on, next point. So, all right, so this is where it gets interesting, right? So this is where we get the other woman archetype from, meaning, so when a man, this is why men, for thousands of years and even till to this day have mistresses, right? Like why it's a thing, this whole archetype of being the other woman, meaning whether or not you've been in this position yourself where you are the other woman, or you've been a married woman and experienced having the other woman in your life, this is why this is a thing, is because evolutionarily, it is for a man like winning the lottery. And I'm going to say this again. If a man has the opportunity to have sex with a woman that he's not financially responsible to because he's not married to her, right? And there isn't the potential, right, of them having children together, which is then another financial responsibility. Him having sex with a woman that, number one, he doesn't have to support financially or support her children, is like winning the lottery. Psychologically, evolutionarily, biologically, it is so fucking pleasurable. It doesn't, and I'm talking about because it's psychological, it's like you're getting something for free, right? And so here's the flip side of this. So for the woman who is considered the other woman, and this isn't like a blanket statement, right? Because I've seen this, and this isn't just the other woman. This also goes out to sex workers. This also applies to prostitutes, to exotic dancers, however you want to label yourself. If you're doing your, you are, you're in that role, especially with a married man, right? It doesn't always have to be a married man, but a lot of the times it is, it's a lot of times what happens is their own self-worth, right? Like, meaning they don't feel that they're actually worthy enough for a man to fully commit to them for that long term, right? Like, for example, when a man marries a woman, like psychologically and evolutionarily, and this is all changing now, by the way. I mean, we're seeing this already across the boards, how nowadays in dating and mating scenarios where typically, when you take a woman out, right, like that has traditionally been the way to court a woman, you pay for her meal, right? Like you're paying for her time, you're paying for the experience of having this woman, right? But now, because people are reevaluating this whole concept, right, we're seeing that, people are splitting the bill, right? Because women, as they step more into their power and into the fact that they're able to support themselves financially, they don't feel that they're, requiring the man to support them, right? So you see where I'm getting with this? And so I'm not saying that any of this is right or this wrong. What this is for you and for all of us to start looking at and being radically honest with ourselves and what it is that we desire, right? Because wealth for one person is not wealth for another person. Health for one person's standard of health is not somebody else's standard of health. And the same thing goes for wealth, and same thing goes for relationships, right? But there's all of these internal rules and all of these internal programs that we have around what a healthy relationship looks like, what a healthy marriage looks like, what wealth looks like, what health looks like, right? So coming back to when a man has the opportunity to sleep with a woman that he doesn't have to financially commit to and the potential of the children, he's going to take it because it is the evolutionary equivalent of winning the lottery. Okay? And actually, it's hot, right? Like it's so fucking hot and erotic. And this isn't to say that if you're married that you can't have this as well, right? Like that's not what I'm saying at all, but I'm saying that this is something that is psychological. It is evolutionarily woven into our DNA, right? And so coming back to, again, for the women that are on the other side of this, meaning whether you're a sex worker, whether you're, hey Paula, whether you're, again, an exotic dancer, or you have been the other woman, right? Like I've worked with so many women that all like that's their story, right? Meaning that they're always attracting men that are unavailable, right? Like meaning always the men that they get into relationships with are married or they're already with a girlfriend, right? And the reason why this is because of their own self-value and their own self-worth. They don't actually feel that they're worthy enough, right, to have a man that would be willing to commit to them financially, to support them financially, and support them having children financially. I know, right? Like this is the download. This is all the Mercury opposite Uranus with Lilith and Taurus. Girl, I know that just came through. It's so fire. I'm going to do a money course, by the way. I don't know how long you've been watching, but all of this is like the tip of the iceberg that's going into, I'm just going to be teaching just on money. And I've never done this before. And the fact that this is what's coming through, like out the get-go is like, yo, this shit's going to be so lit. So anyhow, if you have interest about that and you want the early bird on the pricing, just reach out to me. So, all right, coming back. All right, so coming back to being the other woman, right? Like, and really what this boils down to is this is independence, right? Like this is, you know, as we're moving into the Aquarian age, right? Like this past 2,000 years, which is, you know, the age of Pisces, which is why Jesus is a huge figure. Oh, which by the way, I'm thinking, I don't know, let me know what you guys think about this. I'm thinking of like calling the name of the program like Jesus is my sugar daddy, or Yeshua's my sugar daddy, or Sunshine and Sugar Daddy. I don't know. It's something going to be sugar daddy because there's just like, I don't know. That's just like what landed today. So let me know what you guys think about that. Okay, I'll send it to you, Paula. You got it. What was I going with? Oh, right. So, all right. So we're moving out of this Piscean age, right? Jesus, the sign of the fish, right? And so Pisces, that energy, the shadowy energy of Pisces, right, is the victim consciousness and also codependent consciousness and also needing a savior, right? Like this concept of we're not good enough. I'm not good enough. I need somebody else to save me, right? Like I need somebody else to be my knight in shining armor, right? So that's the shadow, right? The more illumined expression, right, of the Piscean age, of what we're wanting to take with us and bring with us into this Aquarian age, right, is love. That's what Jesus taught. Jesus at the end of the day was love is everything. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Love God with all of your heart and with all of your strength and with all of your might, right? I am that I am, right? When we look at other people in our life, we're seeing us, right? It's yes, they are them and they're doing their own thing, but at the end of the day, they're all mirror reflections of us because we're all one. That's what love is. It's the connective tissue, right? It is what connects us to other people, right? And the more love that we have, right? The more space that we open and we open our heart, the more love floods through us, the more that we're able to attract and magnetize that which we value. So meaning the more love you have in your heart, if you're valuing, like, let's say right now, like for me, like I'm on a mission to really take my health and my fitness to the next level, the more that I open my heart, the more love that I cultivate, more self-love that I cultivate inside of me, just naturally, I'm going to magnetize other people and experiences, things, money, resources, whatever, that is going to help me fulfill that purpose, right? Because we all have a purpose. We all have a divine mission. We've all come here to be ourselves, right? Because nobody can be you. They can copy you. They can borrow things from you, right? They can kind of whatever, but at the end of the day, nobody can bring it the way that you bring it, right? And there literally is a hole there's a dark hole in the earth, right? That your light is meant to fill, right? And so this is part of like what I go into, what I've been, and Paula, you know about this, I've been doing this with the mermaid cleanse, is about our wounds, right? All of our wounds, the places where we hold pain and suffering and where we feel disconnected or where we feel lost, is how the light gets through, right? And so, but what our job, right, essentially is not to like say that we're not wounded, right? Like it's to liberate ourselves from the victim consciousness of our wound, right? By feeling like, our wound is something to be ashamed of. No, our wound actually gets to be like what we're proud of, right? It's like, no, this is what makes me be, right? This is what lights me up. This is what I'm passionate about. This is the gift, right? But the way that the light gets through, right, is we have to clear out the stories and the programs and the scar tissue that is actually like in that wound, right? So we got to clear that out so that the wound space gets open. Essentially, like that's what the heart is. The heart is this open space. It's a void. It's an empty space, right? And what is that empty space? It's for God to come through, right? So it's not about saying, I don't have a heart. I don't have a wound. I don't have a empty space. I don't have a place inside me that longs and that desires and that wants, right? It's like, no, actually it's really big and I'm going to make it bigger. And I'm going to make it bigger till I am so filled with God that I purify anything that isn't me, right? That isn't my authentic, beautiful, soul on fire self, right? And so there's a lot of programming in the past 2,000 years that is around wealth, money, sex, power. So, all right. So coming back to where did I really want to go with this? So I was talking about, so yeah, in relationships, so yeah, there's a couple of different ways. Like that's why that, the other woman is like, it's so erotic. It's so enticing, right? Is because it's an evolutionary win. If that is the program that we subscribe to, right? Because guess what? That's why the fact that we have birth control now, right? Like birth control was like a game changer when it came to this whole paradigm, because now you could be married to somebody, right, and not have the fear, right, or the burden or whatever sort of perspective that you have around, this is why fertility is even like a thing nowadays, why there's a lot of people, and I've worked specifically, like fertility was it still is, and was a specialty that when I was doing a lot more acupuncture with clients, was people weren't able to get pregnant, right, because they didn't feel that they either had the amount of money that they wanted to have and the lifestyle that they wanted to live in order to support another life, such as the expenses of children. So subconsciously, and a lot of times this would happen with the men, not just with the women, but is they would subconsciously not get pregnant because of fear of the financial, the financial, whatever you want to call that, the financial responsibility, I suppose, the financial, the expense, right, of having children, right? And so this is where, first of all, and I'll never forget this, when, this was actually Cham's mom said this to me the first time that I heard it said this way, was that children come with their own pocketbooks. And and to this day, anytime I say that or I hear that, I get chill bumps, right? And that for me is always confirmation of truth. So And we all come with our own pocketbooks, meaning we all come with our own trust funds. What happens in life as we learn things from society and from our programs, this program gets layered on of that's not true. Of money is hard. Money doesn't grow on trees, right? That we have to work really hard for money, that if you have kids, that life automatically gets harder. And that simply is not the case. The truth is the more love that you have in your life. And so what happens, I mean, for those of you who are watching that are parents or mothers, when you have a kid, your love tank like fucking explodes. There isn't a fucking choice. If your love tank doesn't explode, most likely I say this with just so much love and compassion, there's definitely trauma, right, around your relationship to probably your own childhood, your parents, and a lot of times that just, even if that is the case, right, that gets cleared up just by having children, right, because it's such a huge expansion of love, right, to bring through, especially for mothers, to open up. That's what happens when a woman's pregnant. What happens? She expands, does she not? Her vagina goes like we open, right? It's the birth canal is the canal of the soul. That's how souls come through, is through the vagina. That's why the vagina is the pussy portal, right? And it's the stargate. And this is why, why it is something that is just, we know this as women, that we hold pleasure, the potential for pleasure. That's why women are associated with desire, is because we have these places inside of us that when you enter us, you're going to feel massive pleasure because you're returning to the divine feminine. That's what the essence of the divine feminine, the divine mother, that's why, Mother Mary and even Lilith is essentially, prior to her myth being demonized, she's a mother goddess, but she's mother in her wholeness, meaning the part of mother that also destroys, right? That also dies, just like a woman's menstrual cycle, right? The part of our menstrual cycle, we grow, right? We have a seed gets planted into our womb, right? And we can grow a baby, but then we also shed, right? Like that lining of the endometrium sheds and we bleed. That's a death. That's a dying. That's the cycle of the earth mother, right? And so that's what Lilith represents, is the part of the earth, right, that sets boundaries and says it's time for this to come to an end, right? It's I'm saying no. I'm drawing a line in the sand. And when we have borders and boundaries, that's what allows us to hold in our wealth, right? Because the feminine is fluid, right? It's feelings, it's feeling good. The reason why we want money, right, is because we think it's going to make us feel better. We're going to be able to buy things that we love. We're going to be able to travel to places where we can feel free and expansive, right? We're going to be able to put food in our bodies that taste delicious, right? It's like we do it because of the way we think we're going to feel, right? So it's the feelings, it's this liquid, okay? So, but if we don't have borders and boundaries, what happens is we're not able to hold that in, right? It doesn't have a container, right? So it gets leaked out all over the place, right? We get washed out. So, this is where the divine masculine piece comes in, and this is what I'm talking about with sugar daddies, is when, as women, we step into our own divine masculine essence, meaning the part of us that draws lines in the sand, has boundaries, shows, it's that solar plexus where we show up for ourselves, where our words are our wands, right? Our words are so powerful. How we choose, what we choose to say, the way that we say things, the thoughts that we're thinking, these are all literally light codes. What they are is they are light, right? They create limitations. They create places to hold things, right? It manifests, it makes something solid, right, for the feminine to relax into. But if we're not in our own divine masculine, right, we're not in trust. We don't feel that we can trust life, right? And so this is why it's so important. Well, this is essentially what we're liberating ourselves from, is this old program that, we need, that, that we need to, we need a man to save us. And this isn't to say that men, absolutely, this is, and I just want to like be super freaking clear. You can be a woman, right? And if you are honoring your soul and you are listening to your soul and you are owning your own divine masculine and your own divine feminine, you can absolutely have a man who supports you financially. And quote unquote, you don't necessarily have to be an entrepreneur, right? Like women manifest this all the time. They don't realize that's what they're doing, right? And a lot of times I've seen this also. This is, I've seen it all. There's so much that I haven't seen, but like if I'm speaking and I'm teaching about it, it's because it's what I know, So there's a lot of women, right, that they're married, right? And they're married for the safety and security of that man and that money, right? And a lot of women also want this, right? Like they want to marry a man, not because they're in love with them, right? Like meaning like this is my soulmate, right? But they're wanting that man because they want that man to support them financially. They want to feel safe and secure, right? But then what they're doing is they're giving over their power, right, and their freedom, in exchange. They're thinking that because, this man supports me financially, that I don't have a say, that I don't get to do what I want to do. I have to be at his beck and call. I have to do what he wants me to do. I have to. They give over all of their power. They're not free because subconsciously what they're doing is they're equating their self-worth, right, with and they're exchanging their value and their self-worth for that security, and they're outsourcing their security essentially, right? Instead of like when you truly know that no matter what your choices are, that you will always be safe, secure, and stable, because that's an inside job, that it has nothing to do with anything outside of you except for your connection to Jesus, to your connection with your sugar daddy, with God, with yourself with a capital S. Now you're individuated. Now you're free. Now you're a fucking sovereign soul. So these are all of the different ways and dynamics that this plays out. So if this is speaking to you, right? Like if you know that you don't feel free, right? Like when it comes to money, right? Financial freedom. If you're wanting financial freedom, you're ready to step into your power, into your worthiness, into your sexual sovereignty. And again, this course, like we're going to talk about all the things because, and this is always what I say, it's like the way that you do one thing is the way that you do everything. And sex, money, and power are all, it's the same energy, right? But they show up with different masks. They show up, in different chakras even, but essentially it's the same energy, right? And it's how is it flowing in your life, right? So you could be a person that has tons and tons of sexual energy, right? But if you're disempowered when it comes to money, right? It's like you'll have all of this sexual energy, all of this creative energy, but maybe you're not able to experience wealth and abundance, right? Because you've got to clear the blocks within that, where that money story is, right? Vice versa, you could be somebody who has a lot of money, a lot of, wealth, right? But be totally disconnected from your sexuality and totally disconnected from your sense of trust and vitality, right? And then consequently, you could be a person with a lot of influence and a lot of power, but maybe you're cut off from your money, right? Or you're from your sexuality, right? So it's all about like, you get to have it all, right? You get to have it all, but it's a matter of, and this course specifically is money laundering, right? It's essentially gold digging And I mean this. Like, we are going to gold dig. You're a gold digger? Fucking own that shit because you are worthy. You're a gold digger because you have gold at your core. We all have massive wealth and massive power and massive beauty, right? But it's about you doing your self-penetration work and going into your own soul to mine it. And once you're able to touch it and see it and feel it within you, that's where it manifests outside of you effortlessly. You don't have to be chasing it. You don't have to sacrifice anything for it. It's there because you've shined a light on it within you first, right? So, is there anything else that I really, no, I think I really shared everything about that. So here's a prompt that I want to give to you guys as homework. And I invite you, if you're not already a part of my group, the Mother Loveship, to join, because it's my intention for that group is to really have us all expand our bandwidth, meaning the more that we can make space, right, for love in our own life, the more that we're able to hold space for others, right, and to lift others up, right, and to really rise up into this new wealth paradigm, into the 5D, into freedom, into joy, into beauty for others, right? But we got to do it first for ourselves. And so this container is for other women. It's also for men too. There are men in there, but really it's the mother lover, right? It's really returning back to this love of union, right? And honoring the feminine, right? In sacred union with the masculine, right? That sacred marriage of the soul. So here's the prompt. Do you feel money is more valuable than your time and energy? And start looking around at the way that you are living your life, you're spending your time and your energy, as if that's true, right? So meaning, I'm almost done, baby. Thank you. Meaning, when you make a choice to do something, right, is it really honoring your time and your energy, or are you doing it because you're trying to get something that you think you don't already have? Most likely money, right? Because if that is, then that is a sign that you're valuing money over your time and your energy, right? Nothing is more valuable than you. You are priceless. Your heart, you have a heart of gold. You are a good-hearted, beautiful, you are priceless. There is no amount of money that could be put on your time and your energy. Nothing. And so when it comes down to, asking for an exchange, right, of your time and your energy, it's not about how valuable you are. You're priceless. It has to do with, what your energetic capacity, right, and what your soul is wanting right now for you to fulfill and be the kind of person and live the lifestyle that you want to live, right, so that you can be you. Right? So we go into all of this and really mapping all of this out, fleshing everything out, journal prompts, reflections. There's, as of now, I think I have already 2 pre-recorded modules. I'm thinking there's going to be 4. I just haven't uploaded them all yet, but as soon as you join, right, if you want to join and do the early bird pricing, right away you get access to the modules. And then there's going to be 4 group coaching calls with me. So again, it hasn't really I'm not 100% clear on it. I'm doing it and that it's on and that I'm going. And so if you want to come with me, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. I'm going either way. because this is what my soul wants. This is what my soul fucking gave me a green light on and was just like, do it. And I felt it. Like I felt that fear. I was just like, oh my God, can I do this? Can I really do this? And it was just like, yeah, like you can do this. Like whether like you've been teaching, like I have people that just hang out with me and make money. Like as soon as I get into their presence, like clockwork, you can ask my girlfriends, like they hang out with me and clients start calling them. They're like, oh my God, I haven't gotten business in like weeks. And now I'm hanging out with you. And all of a sudden I'm getting clients, or their houses are selling things that they've had on the market, things that they've been trying to sell that they can't, like all of a sudden start going. This happens a lot too. And this is, I'm going to go into is people that manifest through their partners. Like this happens a lot with my husband, like in our love making and different sex magic and things that we do is like literally I'm talking within minutes, like after sessions, like he calls in money, like, and just because of the connection, right? It's like, so, and this is something to look at too, like if that's something that comes up for you where it's like you manifest through other people, right? There's blocks to you receiving your own wealth, right? It's like you're able to bring in that abundance and that energy, right? And you experience it because you're hanging out with other people, but you don't ever own it, right? Like you don't ever get to be quote unquote in charge of it, right? And it's because on some level there's blocks to you actually whether it's shame or it's guilt. A lot of people carry like they feel irresponsible when it comes to money. There's like three main archetypes when it comes to money. And so right now, here's the second prompt for you is ask yourself this: am I a spender? Am I a hoarder? Or am I an avoider? Right? And these can all shift, right? But most people, tend to fall into three of these categories, meaning either they kind of have like fear and like tightness and restriction around money. So as soon as they get it, it's like they have to spend it. Like they don't know how to just be with it. Like really like, wow, like I have like a lot of money in the bank, right? As soon as they get paid, right? Or as soon as they get a big check, it's like all of these expenses either come in or they have all of these things that they want to buy, and then they spend their money, right? Or they pay these bills and then they're back down to like that lower level of what they were before. So that's like the spender archetype. This also can show up in the bladder, if we're having problems with the bladder, or we're not able to hold secrets. This can also show up with the intestines too, like leaking stuff. Like it's like you can't hold in, right? Like wealth, you can't hold resource. That's the spender archetype. The hoarder, right, is like you get money, right? Or you just never spend money, right? It's like you're always afraid to spend money because you equate spending money with once I spend it, then I'm never going to get it back, right? And so there's a kink in the hose. Like you're literally constricting, you're not allowing more money to come in because you're tight, right? You're tight. Even that expression of I'm tight right now. I'm tight with my money. You're hoarding onto the money, right? And so we see this. I mean, even people that quote unquote on paper are millionaires, right? Like I saw this a lot. Like my grandparents, and I go into this actually, by the way, my stories with my father being a millionaire, my grandparents being millionaires, and all of the things that I learned from them, and anyway, people that have lots and lots of money, right? But they're stingy, right? Meaning they won't ever spend it. They don't ever really enjoy it or appreciate it because in the back of their mind, they're scared, right? Like the only way that they actually really feel secure is having it and not touching it. You know what I mean? So that's not wealth. If you're worried, right, and you're not able to enjoy your abundance, right, like that's not wealth, right? Like that's actually part of the problem and part of the reason why there is this massive wealth inequality in the world, right? Because it's control from fear. And then the third one is avoider, right? It's meaning like out of sight, out of mind. If I don't check my bank account, if I don't like look at what I'm spending, when I go to the store and I swipe my card, it's like I don't even care how much it is. I'm not even looking at how much it is. I kind of like check out so that I'm not fully being present with like the exchange happening because there's so much fear and like uncomfortableness around money that I can't even show up in my full presence and in being intimate, because money is intimacy, right? Like the exchange of that's why sexual energy and money is like it's so interwoven, right? And so this would be the avoider archetype, where it's like you don't worry about your bills, right? Like you're not on top of your bills. And this can also, show up too, where it's like, you might be so on top of this is more the hoarder, where it's like you're so like concerned with debt and so concerned with not paying your bills that you don't allow yourself to expand into higher brackets and higher levels of wealth, because you have such a fear of not being able to call in more, right? And so what happens is then you actually cap yourself. You don't allow yourself to be comfortable with buying and selling more and in higher amounts because of the fear of going into debt, right? Or not being able to pay your bills because you're overly focused, right? So all of these things are things that we clear up in the money course. So again, you've got questions about it, reach out to me. I hope that you enjoyed this. Do the prompts, let me know. Join my group, the Mother Lovership, and then you can share with us what's happening, and I'm there to support you. We are all in there to support you, because we are there to love up on each other and to all of us collectively rise up. Okay? Mwah! I love you so much. Bye.